Peter Hain.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I wish to speak specifically about the Pensions Tax Bill and the Private Pensions Bill in the Queen's Speech. The government's proposed the biggest reform to pension tax rules in nearly a century, and there's no denying that it is a popular choice to give citizens, especially those with small pension pots, a choice to take lump sums that may be more beneficial to them than eking out a living on the very small annual payments on which they would otherwise have to rely. Paying off a mortgage or a loan on retirement by drawing down a lump sum may well be better for such pensioners. But there's a real danger in destroying good annuities as well, something which has been going on now for a few decades and is bequeathing a real nightmare that government policies are nowhere near capable of preventing. We've got a rapidly ageing population, dumping a huge additional burden on the young, many of whom are already leaving university with massive debts thanks to this government's dysfunctional policies. Now they will be saddled with subsidising through their future taxes older people who are being encouraged to live for today, not protect themselves for tomorrow. And, Madam Deputy Speaker, closure of defined benefit schemes and the shift towards defined contributions schemes has been an utter catastrophe. Accelerated further by record demographic changes, this is a worldwide phenomenon, a product of the neoliberal orthodoxy, by the way, which the Right Honourable Gentleman who spoke before me worships, gripping governments from the era of Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, something this government still seems in the grip of. In the United States, for example, the number of defined benefit schemes halved in less than 30 years, while direct contribution schemes tripled. Australia, also worshipping such neoliberalism, saw an 80% reduction in the number of workers covered by defined benefit schemes from the 1980s. This is the background. There are disadvantages to the new pension freedom. People might, for example, decide to spend all their pension savings at the point of retirement, dooming themselves to poverty later in life. Having saved into a pension fund, receiving tax relief for many years and reaching retirement with a pot of money, they might be just tempted to blow the lot at once, which would mean they never have the benefit of the extra income they would otherwise have had as they got older. If this happens, then the tax relief they received would not have funded a pension. The employer contributions they may have received along the way would just end up funding immediate consumption rather than providing a long-term income. We know that some people will do this. We don't know how many, and we hope that the number will be relatively low. Pensions expert Ros Altman suggests currently that about 7% say they would spend it all. The truth is it's impossible accurately to predict this. I'll give way.
I'm very grateful. I'm sure he's a supporter, as I am, of the idea of a British investment bank. Does he think the Chancellor should have set up tax incentives to encourage people who had liberated their pension pots to reinvest in a British investment bank, to create jobs for the future and wealth for the future, instead of it just being blown on everyday consumption?
A very good point, Madam Deputy Speaker. And the new flat rate state pension, which is cited in mitigation for this new approach to pensions, still means that a lot of people will fall back on the state, having spent all their pension savings, and there will still be around 20% of pensioners on means-tested benefits even after the new system starts. People might also try to game the system by taking all of their pension money and then recycling it into a new pension fund, getting more tax-free cash and another lot of tax relief. This could be a benefit mostly to those who are reasonably well off with high incomes in later life, and could be costly in terms of extra exchequer spending on tax relief. Madam Deputy Speaker, this is mainly a market problem, and it should perhaps have been possible to reform this market without the draconian retreat from annuities proposed by this government. Would it not have been possible to insist that insurers were obliged to treat customers fairly, to ensure they would be liable if they did not carry out suitability checks to identify which type of annuity was best and offer a good rate? Would it not have been possible to reform the way annuities themselves worked and allow more freedom, but not complete freedom? What protections will be built into the new system to ensure unsophisticated consumers are not left at the mercy of product providers offering poor product choices or higher risk products that people simply do not understand and end up losing significant sums with? The Financial Conduct Authority needs to be on top of this right from the start. Judging by past form, can we be confident of that? I have very serious doubts. If the guidance is delivered by product providers, then they are liable to entice their customers into more poor value products. Past experience shows they will do whatever they can to try and keep customers' money or give them poor value and make extra profit. The annuity market has worked poorly for years, with rising profits to insurers and reducing value for customers. What will the government do to ensure the new products developed do finally offer good value and that the charges are fair and the terms reasonable? The government is right to legislate to permit collective defined contribution pensions, but I warn ministers about overhyping the benefits. In principle, they ought to be better for employers than traditional final salary schemes, and better for workers than traditional defined contribution schemes. But in practice, they still suffer from market and actuarial risks, and Ros Altman points out that lower earners may subsidise higher earners, and younger members may subsidise older members. The new pension freedoms to take most, if not all, of the pension pot in a lump sum, however attractive and justified this may be to certain people, may also mean people prefer pure defined contribution schemes that they can access in retirement if they wish to, as collective defined contribution schemes, admirable as they may be in principle, usually mean they cannot just take the cash, meaning they may well be less attractive for members. Madam Deputy Speaker, my challenge to the government is this. Rather than leaving the private system to market providers and their whims, build a new system that works. A system with longevity which savers will understand and find confidence in. In fact, a lack of confidence in this government's approach to pensions is something that I imagine savers and I both share. And while the Chancellor's right hand further fragments and individualises pensions through these tax proposals, the Pension Minister's left hand makes legal collective direct contribution pensions. But why should any employer move to this collective system when they can see the Treasury going down precisely the opposite route? I doubt if many will do so. I do not think this government is doing anything like enough to face up to the time bomb of our ageing society and the required pensions and social care, the whole person social care. My right honourable friend, the Shadow Secretary of State, has eloquently advocated. I don't think this government's doing anything like enough to face up to the ageing society and the required pensions to underpin the new life rapidly overtaking us and the whole person care that is necessary to protect us. The whole government philosophy of leaving private pensions to the market, of saying to the citizens effectively you're on your own, has failed abysmally in the past, just as I believe it will fail abysmally in the future, at terrible cost to all of us, pensioners, taxpayers, the public in general. And I do urge the government to look again at this and to come back with proposals that really do begin to meet the scale of both the pension challenge and also the whole person care challenge that haunts the whole of this country.
Yeah.